So for those that don't know, Ubisoft made this well, it's not really an apology, it's a non-apology, trying to pretend to be an apology about Assassin's Creed Shadows. But of course, they're lying because, however, our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representation of history or historical characters. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore, learn more about historical settings we get inspired by. Really now, then why did one of your press release, here's the archive link, where you call Yasuke a real-life samurai, and I can already hear you leftists going, but we found that hidden historian that called Yasuke a real-life samurai. Yeah, and those anti-vaxxers found that one doctor that said ivermectin cures COVID. Where this response tweet pretty much sums up the whole problem with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Thanks to Ubisoft, I was able to notice the changes in the history of globalist forces against Japan. Thank you. Where somehow Ubisoft and the world is rewriting Japanese history and dictating Japanese history to the Japanese. Where this blog post pretty much sums up the whole problem with Yasuke, where a lot of what was happening was a creation by this English professor that was teaching English in Japan, Thomas Lockley, who's pretty much, I have been heard, has been fired. Where Lockley was writing these real history things, blaming slavery on Japan and modifying Yasuke's Wikipedia entries just so that he could promote him overseas and everything else to the unaware Japanese. And you can read this whole thing where it goes into detail on how Lockley created the whole mythos of Yasuke by pretending to be a Japanese historian. But the thing is that this is nothing new, because Marvel's current editor-in-chief, well, I'm not sure he's current anymore, but C.B. Sapolsky pretended to be a Japanese man so he could write comic book stories misrepresenting the Japanese point of view. But this all goes to a bigger problem where Western media has this Western-centric fetishization of Asian culture. My whole page is about this, and do you need more proof of this fetishization by Western media when it's Western-centric and focuses on Western imperialism and especially the demonization, the vilification, or the erasure of Asian men? Ubisoft even acknowledges this fetishization with Asian culture by removing Asian men by saying, but you get to play as a Japanese woman. Yeah, I know I've gone over this many times about how Western media loves to try and erase Asian men or portray them as minstrels or do some vilification with them, especially when they try to race swap Asian men for other races. But you know what the saddest thing about all of this is watching leftists act just like the racists they supposedly hate, dictating to me what is racist to Asians, especially Asian men, dismissing all my evidence I have to prove it. But I'm not surprised because I have seen that behavior from leftists before, especially when it comes to Asians. So Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, you can take this apology and shove it along with the rest of you, especially that don't want to acknowledge the racism Asians face, especially the racism that Western society uses to specifically target Asian men. You are no better than the racists that you say you're fighting against.